What is up? We are live on the Road to Redemption podcast for the first time. We're doing it via video, kind of switching things up. This is in relation pretty much to me attempting to get this podcast on the iTunes store. We've been getting a lot of requests for it. So now I'm giving this a shot, seeing what's up. So hello to YouTube. YouTube is over here on my right. You guys should see that when I upload it. And then what you see me recording into, the pathetic little microphone setup I have here, will be my attempt at the iTunes upload. Okay, so first things first, cracking the Zevia. I got one hand, so it's going to be pathetic. Boom. Delicious. Take a swig here to get the podcast started off on the right foot. I don't know why I'm nervous. I'm nervous to do this. The camera moved. That's not a good start. Not a good start to any of this. I'm sure I'm going to have to stop and readjust a few times because I don't know how long an iPhone camera can actually record. I know it's going to be a few different videos, but let's jump right into it. So the topic of today's podcast is going to come from, I just recorded a podcast for the Fit Dad Fitness podcast, which he said should be released in about a month. He kind of keeps a backlog of episodes in case he can't get to one. So mine should be released in about a month. We had an amazing talk, but it sparked an idea. It sparked a thought in my mind that I think is super important to share with you guys, which is a big part of my story and what we really talked about on the podcast with Michael is his name. It was, so a big part of where I really started to be who I am today was when I started taking responsibility for my actions in my life and the things that I had done to people and the way that I made people feel, and even people, who aren't particularly my favorite people in the world. I still had to take responsibility for the fact that I had hurt them. I had treated people wrong. I've done a lot of, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. But as we were talking, it made me realize, when you go back and you try to make amends with people that you've done wrong, and for people that you've made feel bad. I've definitely done that to, my parents, my ex-wife, and, all kinds of people I've done wrong to. And I've made bad decisions that affected them. When you go back and make amends with certain people and you really start to take responsibility for your life and the things that you've done, you're going to find that people who are actually not very good people will then start to put all the blame on you. When they see that you're taking responsibility and you're willing to own up for the things that you've actually done wrong, people who are not willing to do that will then place all the blame on you. And I think that's pretty interesting. It says a lot about people. So if you're on that journey, if you're on that road to where you're really trying to start making some amends, and really start to become a better person, watch for that. It's worth recognizing. It's worth looking out for. And I think it's important because we've talked in past podcasts before about how important it is to, the group that you keep around you. And if you see that in your friends and you see that in your family members, I know family members are a big one for doing stuff like that, especially if you're, I'm not talking about mine, but I've seen it in situations where kids, go back to their parents and they go, hey, I'm really sorry. I know I did this when I was younger and I've made these mistakes, but I just want to come to you and I want to apologize. I want to apologize for all the hurt that it caused you. I want to apologize just, for everything. And then if you look, manipulative people will always turn back and go, well, I'm this way because of you. Well, you even said it. I'm back this way. Guys, that's the key factor to all this. If someone goes, well, you even said you did this. Guys, if someone throws an apology back in your face, well, you even said it's because of you. Someone is blowing my phone up. That is the sign right there of a not very good person. And I've seen that so much. I've seen that in different relationships that I've witnessed. That's the number one sign for troubles are brewing. Things are not going well in that relationship, and that's one of the biggest things you see is well, every time you guys fight, they bring up some stuff from the past that you've already apologized for 100 times over, and you're like, but I said I'm sorry for that. Like, now I'm not talking about if you continue to make the same mistakes, then you're clearly not actually owning up to the decisions you make and taking responsibility for them. If that's you, and you keep making the same mistakes over and over, we'll save that for another episode. But I'm talking about if you're truly trying to man up and go, look, this is where I'm lacking, that I'm struggling with this in my journey here. I know I've done you wrong in this area, and I want to apologize. And then you actually make a real effort to change those things. And then the first little bit of trouble that pops up, that person then goes, well, see, you even said that, or this happens every single time, just like when you did X, Y, and Z. You get it. You get what I'm saying. So, guys, just watch out for stuff like that, I truly believe that when we try to start becoming the best versions of ourselves, you're going to find that people, the bad people, are going to take full advantage of that. They're going to see, well, he's taking responsibility for his shortcomings, so I can now put my shortcomings on him because he's willing to accept it. That's where the definition of don't mistake my kindness for weakness really comes in. Don't, just because you're becoming kind and you're becoming loving, definitely don't become weak. Don't become people's punching bag because you're willing to actually man up for your mistakes. The problem is, and I've seen it so many different times, is if the person doesn't recognize that they have their own shortcomings, you're not going to make them realize that. You won't. No one will ever realize a true problem that they have with themselves until their life is affected enough that makes them see it and makes them change, which is what Michael and I kind of talked about. That was my low point, and I told you guys that in the first episode of this, was when I sat in that jail cell and there was nobody that was responsible. I couldn't put it on my ex-wife. I couldn't put it on the situation with my daughter. Couldn't put it on issues that I had with my parents growing up. I couldn't put it on anything. This was on me. I drank, I drove, I got in trouble. I'm the one that continued drinking when I knew I should stop. For years and years and years, I got myself in bad. I lost the job. That was all me. And then I had to look at my actions that led up to it. And when you first accept that was all me, I did that. Nobody else did that for me. You're then going to go back and go, okay, what were the actions that led up to this? And you're going to go back to behaviors that you've already done, habits that you have, which is going, well, I did this because, my ex-wife treated me like this. I can't do that. Your ex-wife may have treated you that way. How you responded was on you. Well, I did this because of the way I was brought up. Okay, you were brought up that way, but how you responded to it was on you. If you start taking responsibility for everything in your life, good and bad, you are then in control of all those things. No one can ever say you're only here because of me, which is, I hear that a lot. That was a big, big problem in my past, was people would say, well, you wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for me. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. Yeah, okay. You know what? You're right. That's good and bad. In some situations, I wouldn't have had the places to stay that I had if it wasn't for certain people. But I also wouldn't have made some of the poor decisions I made if I didn't let people affect me and affect my mental health the way that I did. But again, you hear what I said. I let them affect me that way. Everybody that comes into our lives, we have 100% the control to affect how they affect our lives. People can come in and people will come in like a wrecking ball and try to put their own agendas on our lives, and some people really do work to make a good mess of our lives. But again, it's how we respond. It's how we respond that really makes us who we are. And we're not always going to do that perfectly. There's certain people, and we all have them in our lives that really know how to get under our skin, don't they? Man, they know how to really, really, really get under our skin. But my mom always used to tell me, you're allowed to feel however you want. When a situation comes up, you can feel any certain type of way. Your emotions are going to do that whether you want them to or not. It's how you act that determines your outcome. Which, I mean, it sounds pretty cliche. I know it all sounds cliche, but when you look back at a life lived, and I mean, hopefully my life's not anywhere close to over. I'm only 26, but when you look back at a life lived, I can say I've lived a pretty crazy life thus far. Like, I've gone through so much. I tell people a lot. I feel like I've gone through more in 26 years of life, than some people have gone through in 60 years. Like, I've gone through drug use, alcohol abuse, jail, military, marriage, divorce, childbirth, fighting through custody. I mean, man, oh man, I've gone through just about everything a person can go through. I've lost loved ones. Like I said, I've seen life come into this world. It's just craziness when you think about it all. I lost track. I actually went down memory lane in my own mind while I was saying that, and I lost track of what I was saying. But it comes back in a life lived. You really do look back and go, I had total control over every one of those situations, good and bad. Now, I'm going to kind of segue now into the next topic. You hear a lot of people that go, I did this and it's all me. Especially like Drake, he did that song like, came up, it's all me. I don't believe that. I don't believe anybody gets to where they are without a team. Nobody is putting themselves in a bunker and truly grinding it out 100% alone and then reaches a level of success. I truly believe it takes some type of team, whether in music standings, whether it's you and your producer, whether social media personalities, it's you and your cameraman, your photographer. For my instance, man, my team is so wide. Like, it starts obviously with my wife. She's my support. She's my everything, man. She keeps me going through everything. I would have quit my social media 1,000 times over, especially recently, if it wasn't for my wife. But then I've got my team. I've got Tyler with Ambition. I've got Don with Seabag. I've got those are really my big ones. Those are my friends, they're my friends, and I consider them my family 100%. And then I have other companies that I work for, so like bodybuilding.com, that's a big platform. When they put me up, that's good for my channel. And then like I have this amazing opportunity with Movement, to where like that's actually that's a really good chance for revenue for me, which is what I want. I want to make money on social media, and I have a good chance with that now. This is a well-known company. I don't think I'll ever be featured on their site. Most of what they do is like from the forearm down, because they're a watch company, but maybe with glasses. I don't know. But I mean, they invested in me. They took a chance on me by allowing me to be a part of their team, and so they see my value. Now, again, they're a massively huge company, but I think they see some kind of value in me that they chose. And so when I do reach a level of success, that is where I want to be. I don't have a end goal for all this. It's not like if I hit 1 million followers and whatever, okay, I'm done now, because that means that I think at that point I would have hit a sustainable level that I can do social media as my full-time career. But if I do that, I still think I would work. Like, I love what I do right now. I love the company I work for. Even if my social media becomes such a success, I had said forever that my goal was to be my own boss by the end of 2018, but I don't think I really want that. I don't really want to just do social media. I love this, but I feel like if I did this full time, all the time, I don't think I would love it so much anymore, because then it would become my job. It would become a hassle. I want to always do this because I want to do it. And if it's my 9 to 5 doing this, I just don't think it's the same. But 2, it's fun to watch the come up as a team. That's why I've really, I've really worked with companies that were smaller and we kind of grew together. I mean, in the beginning, it was companies like Shooter Lube, and I mean, they're getting really big now, and they've done that totally without me. They're really doing their thing, and I'm so impressed by Colton and the team he's building over there. But like Seabag, we came up together, started day one together, and the energy behind that one is really rolling. Ambition, Tyler had gotten a pretty good foundation under him of, okay, this is what we're going to do, and I just kind of hopped on board and am trying to help him take it to the next level. But it's going to be good, and I tell them all the time, when I win, which I know I will, when I win, we're all going to win. And that's going to go the same thing for like Revive. When I win and I'm financially, successful and my family's good and I don't have to stress about finances, my next goal will be then to open, like my own Revive. And then, just keep growing. And it's all a part of my story. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do. You may not want to open a cryotherapy clinic and a testosterone therapy clinic and help a clothing brand get off the ground and help a coffee company become successful, but like, that's what I want to do. I'm not the entrepreneur. I'm more of the personality behind it all, and I'll do that. And I try to learn every day from Josh, my boss at Revive, and I try to learn from Tyler, and I try to learn from Don, and I look at all their different styles, and I just want to be the best that I can for each one of them, so that way we all come up, and when we all come up, we do it together. And then we can all celebrate at the top. And I think that's the goal, right? Like, that's the goal, is to be the best for everybody in your life. And that all starts with really knowing yourself. I've changed so much, even in just the 2 years that I started doing this the social media thing. First I was all guns and veteran, and I slowly started to transition out of that, which is when I started working with Seabag, and then outside of that, I went full-on fitness, and I thought I was going to be a personal trainer, and I realized that, I love fitness, but my passion's not there. I can say I've tried so many different things, I've tried so many different things, and I've loved them. I've loved them all during their respective periods, and I've taken great things from them, and then I've left the bad things where they are, and I've moved on to the next thing. But I feel like right now I've really, really hit my stride. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm successful. And I feel like this is my long term, And now it's just, okay, settle in, put in the hard work, and then watch it grow. And sometimes I have to remind myself, I'm only 2 years in. I'm only 2 years into this social media thing and really restarting my life as a whole, I do forget sometimes that I completely restarted my life with nothing. I moved to Tennessee with just, a few sets of clothes and the love of my wife. And that was really it. And in not even 2 whole years, I've started a life all over again. So maybe that's the lesson I'll give you outside of here as we're wrapping up here, is take a look at your life and look at how far you've come in the last 2 years. If you can truly look at yourself and say, hey, I really haven't come that far, okay, then we have something to work with. But if you can't, if you can look and go, wow, 2 years ago I was in a real bad shape. I wasn't doing much. My career's really taken off in the past 2 years. My family's better than ever. This, that, and the other. And I'm going to go off on a tangent here. And mark my words, when I start going off on this tangent, I guarantee the YouTube camera is going to cut out. I dislike nothing more. Let me take it. Xavier break. Running off at my mouth. My throat gets all dry. Nothing gets to me more than when I get people in my DM box and they complain about their marriages. Now, let me put this disclaimer in there. Some people open up to me about challenges in their marriage. I have no issue with that. Now, I'll never disrespect your spouse by saying, well, you definitely need to leave your spouse. I would never say that. I will only give you helpful advice that I think can help you, because you're reaching out to me for advice. But nothing gets to me more that when someone comes in my DM box and goes, yeah, well, my husband or wife is a total piece of garbage and this, that, and this, and this, that, and this, and I've just accepted that this is the way my life is, but they're miserable and I hate them. Well, guess what? You are 100% responsible for the way that your life is. If your marriage is shit, you're responsible for that. If you're putting up with things that you feel are not right and that you're being served an injustice, you can either do something about it or you cannot. I can't stand it when I hear people talking to a third party where I seemingly don't know your situation. I'm only getting one side of it. And I think a lot of people come to me and want me to and be like, well, yeah, your husband or your wife is a piece of shit. I'm not going to do that. I'll give you advice and I'll tell you, hey, that's obviously not safe, especially in domestic abuse cases. Hey, if there are laws set up, if you want to do something about that, you can absolutely do it if you feel. But to complain to somebody over the internet and then not do anything about it makes me wonder one of two things. Either one, they're not true and people are reaching for attention. And guys, I get tons of these a month, like probably a couple hundred a month. Usually it's women complaining about their husbands because I don't know why, because they usually end up then following it up with, you're the sexiest thing I've ever seen when you're talking about how shit your marriage is. Well, I wonder why your marriage is shit if you're DMing people on the internet, stuff like this. Let's bring it back out of my frustration from my DM box. Your life is what you make it. Your life is also what you put up with. If you put up with silly shit, you're gonna get silly shit in return. Me and my buddy Jonathan, who actually just started his own podcast, it's BNC Retrievers here on YouTube. Go check it out. We have always said this thing. It's play silly games, win silly prizes. Every single time. I live by that. If you play silly games, you are going to get silly prizes every time. Guys, don't put up with less than what you know you're worth. Goes back to the very first episode I ever recorded on this. You know what your worth is. Go out there and get it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast because, bam, the YouTube made it. Looks like the mic is still holding on. You guys now get to see the crazy little mic setup I get here. Guys, I just saw the shirt. Reminded me, Ambition Threads, new launch is tomorrow. Seabag Locker Coffee. Go get you some of the best veteran-owned coffee in the game. You can use Cam Fit. I'm in charge of the ambassador program right now, and it is frying my brain cells out. And yeah, that's going to go ahead and be our sponsors. Well, we got Halo Top Creamery as well. Those guys have been amazing to me. And I think that's going to be it for the sponsors of this podcast today. Guys, I love you. I hope you know how much I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to me. When you guys tune in, go check out the Ambition launch tomorrow. And if you like this, if you got some value out of this podcast, please share it. Please let people know where they can find it. Share it on all your social media platforms. And as always, give this video a thumbs up. Comment below what you guys want to hear. I'm actually going to go check out Jonathan. Just released his new podcast, so I'm going to go check it out. See you guys later. Peace.